Welcome to Cut the Crop, keeping you in the know about everything you grow. Researchers, growers and other interesting folk delivering insights and information on topics ranging from agronomy to profitability. Brought to you by the Foundation for Arable Research.
Agrichemicals have been a go-to solution for weed, pest and disease management on most New Zealand arable systems for decades. But what if they were not available? Welcome to Cut the Crop. I'm Anna Heslop and my guest today is our usual host, FAR CEO Alison Stewart. She's here to tell us about A Lighter Touch, a major pan-sector research program aimed at reducing reliance on agrochemicals. Hi Alison, first of all, tell us how big this project is.
Yes, hi Anna, nice to be here. The Lighter Touch programme, it's a 7-year programme, and the total amount of funding, which is a combination of money from the government and then also industry input, is about $27 million. So it's probably one of the largest and sort of, I guess, all-encompassing programmes that the plant sectors in New Zealand have been involved in for a long, long time.
So which particular industries are involved? Is everybody on board or just some?
Well, there's 17 partners.
Wow.
I'm not going to list them all because I probably couldn't remember them all, but they're, kiwi fruit, viticulture, summer fruit, potatoes, onions, strawberries, feijoa, processed vegetables, fresh vegetables. So there's a lot of people round the table that represent, key horticulture, vegetable and arable sectors.
So that's a big cross-section. So obviously they've got some kind of overall common goal.
Well, I guess it comes back to the fact that obviously there's lots of sector-specific pest and disease problems that have to be dealt with by individual sectors. But then there's a whole range of common issues that collectively we can leverage off each other to sort of be able to make better progress on. So, we all are suffering from, resistance issues, the build-up of resistance to pesticides and how best to manage that. We're all looking for newer, softer fungicides or biological products. And we're all looking at ways in which we can integrate cultural, biological and sort of chemical practices into a more integrated system. And we've called it the Lighter Touch because what we're looking for is an approach to crop protection that is more holistic and that it takes into account sort of agroecological principles rather than just a sort of one-dimensional, apply fungicides or insecticides.
So there's going to be a host of growers out there that'll say, actually, I'm quite happy just applying my fungicide and knowing that it works. So, why are they having to look at these new ways of doing things and big scary words like agroecological approaches?
Yeah. Well, I always, when people ask me this, I always say, well, it's to do with the 3 R's. We know that we have resistance issues in some of our chemical groups. We know that worldwide there have been, some chemical groups that are no longer effective. And so we have to manage the chemicals that we currently have available. We have to manage them in the most effective way to minimize the risk of resistance building up and then potentially losing them. We also know that if we use chemicals too much, we have potential residue build up in the food chain. And that then, I guess, creates the issue, the public perception around sort of pesticides in the food chain. And then we also in New Zealand have the issue of, we are a small country. We have relatively small market sizes. And so, a lot of the big ag chem companies won't necessarily think to register new products in New Zealand because the market size may not warrant the registration costs. So and also there are, as we know, because of public sort of pressure, there are a number of key chemical groups that are being deregistered. And so, you've got those resistance problems, you've got those residue potential risks, you've got registration sort of constraints, and you've got the potential loss of chemicals because of public perception. So all of those things are telling growers in New Zealand, we can't rely on synthetic chemicals to manage pests and diseases. We have to be more resilient. We have to have more diverse systems that include a range of other options.
So what will be FAR's focus? You're saying it's a 7-year project. So over that 7 years, what will you be looking at?
Well, I mean, FAR obviously is involved in it because we want to be able to focus on developing these agroecological production systems for arable crops. But we also recognise that we also want to contribute to some generic research that will benefit everyone. So it's a bit of a mixture that, you know, we'll be bringing some of our levy funds to explore some new, softer chemistry, some biopesticides, for example, that may be available overseas that we will want to encourage commercial companies to bring over and test in New Zealand. We'll want to facilitate our regulatory pathways to be more accommodating of these kinds of softer products. And then we'll also want to be looking at integrated pest management programs specifically for our crop rotations.
So with regard to some of these newer products, firstly, what is a soft chemical and what a biopesticide, and how does the registration and regulatory pathways differ for those from the traditional synthetics?
So, I mean, I guess when we're talking about softer chemicals, they might be, natural products rather than synthesized in a laboratory. So it might be a plant extract or something like that, or, something like neem oil. Would be regarded as a sort of softer chemistry. And then the biologicals, they could be sort of microorganisms, beneficial soil fungi or bacteria. If they're going to be registered as biopesticides to have a claim for pest and disease control, they do have to go through the same regulatory process as synthetic chemistry. And one of the issues that we have is, of course, that the regulations and the pathway for registration were all set up, and the questions and the criteria that have to be met are very much targeted to chemistry, and a lot of the biological products don't quite match. So it's really working with the regulatory agencies to try and make sure that when we go through the registration process, that the criteria that biopesticides have to meet are fit for purpose, rather than trying to fit them into a chemistry box, which they don't fit.
So they don't get rejected just because they don't fit in a box.
That's right.
Right, okay.
So it's trying to facilitate getting more biological products out onto the market, and making sure that the regulatory process doesn't act as an inherent constraint to that.
So do you have any particular crops or diseases or weeds or pests in mind as a start-off from FAR's perspective?
I mean, from FAR's perspective, we obviously have a huge number of different crops that, growers can be growing. We can't be looking at them all. There will be lots of potential leverage with the vegetable industry, because a lot of their vegetable crops have similar pests and diseases to some of our arable crops. So hopefully we'll be able to co-invest in some programs where there's commonality. But when it comes to arable specific, we're going to start off with wheat, and we're going to say, okay, wheat's going to be our model system. And we're going to look at developing, a fully integrated program for wheat to begin with. And then, it might be barley after that. It might be a seed crop, whatever. It really just depends on how well the program progresses and how well the growers engage with it. I mean, we're looking for growers to be part of this, doing trials on their farm, looking at integrating sort of all of the systems and trying to create this sort of full IPM program for wheat.
So is agroecological the same as IPM?
Well, I guess agroecological production systems is a all-encompassing sort of thing. It's a philosophy around harnessing what's already out there in nature and trying to integrate different systems and not having a reliance on one particular input, whether it's pesticides, whether it's fertilizers or whatever. It's trying to, capture all the good things about diversity within a farm system. And I guess it's complementary to things like the organic philosophy, the regen ag philosophy. So we're not pushing any one particular type of farm system. We're trying to provide the research and the options that growers can adopt whatever they want for their system.
A lot of this research has and is already being done, or has been done in the past by far, obviously. Disease management in cereal crops is pretty important. So how is this going to be different or new or complementary to what's been going on before?
Well, it will be a progression, because we're not going to throw out all of the really good stuff that we've been doing in the past and that we want to continue. And so we're still going to do a lot of our fungicide resistance management work that Joe Drummond, our cereal expert, has been focused on. And we're still going to do the work that Abby Horrocks has been involved in, looking at predators and parasitoids as part of an IPM program, for insect control. We're just trying to bring it all together. We've done lots of different bits and pieces funded by different groups at different times. This 7-year program, will give us the opportunity to try and pull it all together and actually be able to illustrate to growers how they can actually make those changes.
So some of this, you're just saying, will be done on farm, and you're looking for people, and obviously that's a really good way to illustrate how things work, is to do them on farms. If people are interested in being involved, what should they be doing?
I guess just making contact with me in the first instance, so that we know growers who want to put their hand up and say, well, I would actually like to see if I could transition my farm to, full IPM or spray-free or whatever. And, we will have working groups and identify which farms might suit what the bigger program is trying to achieve. We've got to be careful that we don't just go off on a silo and just do exactly what the arable sector wants to do. The value of this program is having all of those different sectors involved and leveraging off each other.
So I've just been talking to Alison Stewart, FAR CEO, about a new massive multi-year pan-sector research project called A Lighter Touch, which is going to be looking at reducing the amount of synthetic chemicals used on farms. It's funded by MPI and a whole range of New Zealand's primary industries. So if you'd like to know more about it, please get in touch with us here at FAR. And in the meantime, have a great day on the farm.
Thanks for tuning in to Cut the Crop, presented to you by FAR. If you'd like to know more about any of the topics discussed or have any suggestions for future topics, go to www.cutthecrop.co.nz.